What is up, everybody? We are getting right back into Reaktor blocks where we're going to continue exploring all the various filter options that they have available in the TOYBOX NANO PACK library in Reaktor blocks. Just click into the Reaktor environment, hit the enter key on your keyboard, and start typing in nano filter. Today, we're going to check out the nano filter, the normal one. So I just pull that into my library. Automatically, I can see that it's very similar to the diode and OTA filters, and just doing a bit of prep work, I can already tell you a lot of those filters, a lot of the filters we're going to be looking at in this episode and upcoming episodes will be exactly the same, I think, in terms of type and functionality. And so it's really a matter of understanding maybe how they impart a particular flavor, maybe how they differ in a certain way from other types of filters. Let's go ahead. We'll get rid of the diode filter. Just do a little positioning. We'll go ahead and connect our audio cables. We'll connect the frequency analyzer here. And we'll go ahead and connect to the overall mixer, which is a subtle saturation mixer. We have a couple of oscillators on the top row and a couple of oscillators on the bottom row. So we have this OTA filter to compare to on the top row and just the standard nano filter. And this filter is a filter with 8 different selectable filter types. Seems pretty straightforward. If we go ahead and record enable our Reaktor track in our DAW, we can hear immediately that we've got some sound. And we can not only hear what this filter is doing, but we can see what it's doing on the frequency analyzer. It's a high pass filter setting right now, so it's reducing the top end. And it is allowing the low end to pass through. We give it just a touch of resonance, it'll do a little bit of attenuation before giving a small boost, and then it'll have a nice, unique character to the actual cutoff. So really cool. Let's explore the various shapes. So these are some different options that we have for low pass filter types, obviously with a bit more resonance already built into the character. That's cool. And then getting into closer to number 2 shape, that is the sort of, I don't know if you'd call this a band pass, band boost. It's really what it's doing is it's boosting a certain frequency depending on what you set that cutoff to. That's the frequency being boosted, and it's basically reducing all the other frequencies around it. So obviously giving a bit of resonance will give some sharpness to that boost and allow for some unique character there. Going into shape number 3, we're getting into high pass characters, meaning that you can tell when I move the cutoff knob, it allows the higher frequencies or the top end frequencies here on the spectrum to pass through while cutting off the lower frequencies. And again, obviously giving some resonance to that will give a bit of a poke, a bit of a boost to that particular cutoff frequency point, allowing some unique characteristics there to come through. And then getting into shape 4, we have some variations on this high pass frequency with a bit wider of a cutoff point, a bit wider of what you'd call typically a Q setting on a typical EQ, because it's allowing a little bit of that frequency spectrum that you're cutting off. It's still allowing a little bit of that to come through. So it's not as harsh as as the sort of standard setting. And then obviously getting into these settings, this is just doing certain things with certain frequencies, which then has the effect of reducing certain pitches inside the signal, even though it's just cutting off in a minute way, in a small way. It's cutting off certain frequencies. So as we get into shape 5 and 6 and 7, we have variations on the band pass filter, which is a sharp cut of the frequencies that then you can sweep through and obviously add resonance to as well if you would like to make it a bit more interesting. So all of these obviously get really interesting once you start adding some modulation. And so I've got my LFO shapes over here, which some of them are modulating one another. As you can see, this one up above here is modulating this one on the bottom row. So now if we mix this top row back into it, we get a little more of the fundamental note added back into the mix. Oh yeah, so you can obviously get some really interesting and cool sounds out of all of these filter types, especially when you get into modulating them, especially when you get into, you know, just turning some of these controls and then, you know, getting into that space that you know, you sort of zero in on that sound that really interests you, that really sounds really cool to use specifically. And that's the flavor. That is the flavor that you're after. Until next time.